country that may be liberated, but it's far from being safe. The attack on the U.S. consulate on Tuesday isn't all that surprising when considering the country's deep security issues. And here's just a few examples of what's been going on there in the last few months. Now, back in May, fighters attacked government headquarters in the capital, Tripoli, killing one security guard. In June, rival militias fought over the country's main airport. It was eventually handed back to the government. In August, Sufi shrines came under attack by ultra-conservative Salafis. The government was blamed for failing to protect the minority group. And earlier this month, a car bombing killed an intelligence officer in Benghazi, the same city where the U.S. ambassador was killed. Let's now speak to Jeff Porter, who's a risk consultant who specializes in North Africa. He joins us live from New York. Jeff, good to talk to you. Now, the U.S. authorities, Jeff, are saying they can't establish yet a direct link between this anti-Islam film and the protests at the consulate in Benghazi, suggesting perhaps that this attack may have been planned and organized. What is your take on this? This happened, of course, on 9/11. Could this have been the hallmark of an organized attack, or was it, in your opinion, a spontaneous eruption by a mob?
Well, I think there may have been two things taking place. I think there may have been a component that was spontaneous, but I also do think that there was a component that was planned. The U.S. consular section in Benghazi was attacked before. It was attacked on the 6th of June. The day before that attack, the U.S. government had announced that Abu Yahya al-Libi, an al-Qaeda leader, was killed in Afghanistan and Pakistan by a U.S. drone. So the day following the death of Abu Yahya al-Libi, the U.S. consular section in Benghazi was attacked. September 11th, Ayman Zawahiri announced that Abu Yahya al-Libi had in fact been killed, something he had heretofore denied. The same day, later that same day, the U.S. consular section in Benghazi is attacked yet again. So I do think that there is a strong argument to make that this was a planned attack.
Now, I understand, Jeff, that you briefed the ambassador back in May about security in Libya. What was the risk assessment for diplomats in Libya?
Well, Ambassador Stevens, I think, had a realistic assessment of the risks he was going to face in Libya when he assumed his post. But at the time, it's important to note that the security environment in Libya was bad, but it was predictable. There was militia fighting, there was tribal fighting, there was regional fighting, but all of it was relatively predictable and relatively conventional. We didn't have terrorism per se. That began to change over the course of the summer, and I'm sure Ambassador Stevens was well appraised of the risks he faced.
So what precisely was the level of security at the consulate in Benghazi, and what was there any early warning system? In other words, were they prepared for such an incident?
Well, the consular section in Benghazi is relatively unique among U.S. diplomatic institutions or around the world. Since 2011, since September 11th, 2001, a lot of U.S. embassies and diplomatic installations around the world had been revamped, rebuilt. They've had their security protocols reinforced. That didn't happen in Libya. Diplomatic ties were only reestablished with Libya in 2006. So it was very difficult for the United States to implement the security protocols at its embassies and consular sections in Libya that it had elsewhere around the world.
So was there then a breakdown in security at the consulate? Talk us through, Jeff, because you're an expert on this. Talk us through what happens in these situations when there's a perceived threat on the mission. What's the protocol? Aren't officials supposed to be taken to a safe location when there's a perceived threat on the mission? What happens in these circumstances?
Well, it appears as if security protocol was followed at the consular section. Ambassador Stevens was taken to a safe room, but there seems to have been a technical breakdown or some sort of perimeter breach that resulted in the assailants entering the compounds. We are hearing initial reports that the compound came under a coordinated mortar assault, which seems to have indicated, further corroborates the view that this was a planned attack. Now, Ambassador Stevens didn't die from a wound or a gunshot. Instead, it appears as if he had died from smoke inhalation due to a failure of the ventilation system in the safe room in which he was hiding.
Okay. Just one last question, and just to clarify for our viewers, why is it that it was Libyan forces guarding the embassy in the first place? And is this the case in other U.S. missions around the world?
Yes, it is the case at other U.S. missions around the world. There is always a local force component to U.S. To the security at U.S. embassies around the world. There is a representation from the U.S. military forces at U.S. diplomatic installations, but local security does provide most of the security at these embassies and consular sections.
And just one last question, Jeff, if I can. No, we're hearing now that there are two warships that are possibly heading towards the Libyan coast. I mean, what could that entail? What are we looking at here, you think?
Well, first, I think it's a show of force. That it sends a clear signal that the U.S. military presence is going to be intensified in Libya as a consequence of the death of its ambassador there. But there may also be a logistical component. If the security situation continues to deteriorate at a rapid rate, the U.S. citizens currently in Libya will be able to be evacuated on the warships if that need arises.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff, for speaking to us. That's North Africa Risk Consultant Jeff Porter joining us live from New York. Thanks for your insight.
Boy, boy, boy. That is, oh my God. Since when does foreign soldiers guard any American territory? Because that's what a U.S. embassy is. On any land in any country, it's U.S. soil. Since when do we allow foreign soldiers to guard our sovereign soil? That is ridiculous. That is something totally ridiculous. I mean, that's mind-boggling. I just wanted to get that off my chest and let y'all hear this little interview that was done about the ambassador being killed along with 4 other Americans. Boy, this is just something totally outrageous. Just something I've never heard of that before. I mean, that was problem 1 right there. They should have never had any foreign soldiers guarding U.S. sovereign soil in any embassy wherever the country may be. Hi, my name is Vegas Lady. I am getting into radio broadcasting, and I want to become a talk show radio analyst, and I'm doing this video because every American should be infuriated at what happened, at what took place in Libya just a few short days ago. And I also want to read some comments posted on abovetopsecret.com. It is a site where you can post blogs about anything, and one of the topics there is called Muslim Brotherhood website demands that West criminalize assault on Islam. Any assault, verbal, video, and I happened to see this video on YouTube, and I have to say, it is the sorriest acting I have ever seen. I mean, to think they would actually get enraged over something that's just totally laughable. It's totally laughable. I mean, I watched it. It was ridiculous. You know, if anything, they should be laughing their asses off at such poor acting. Oh my God. Okay, let's go with a post by Dragon Rider. You actually found the main problem. No, they can't think for themselves. He's replying to someone else. They truly do not understand our concept of freedom of speech. On and off, I've spent 3 years in the Middle East, and what most Westerners can't understand is their idea of the world. First, Islam in itself demands obedience. It tells you what to eat, when to pray, how to punish criminals, etc. In effect, it controls every aspect of their lives. You know, it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous too. I mean, a God demanding you can't have self-choice. You have to obey him at every single turn of everything. It goes on to read, if you choose not to follow the rules, you get labeled an apostate, A-P-O-S-T-A-T-E, apostate, never heard that before. And then the penalty is death. Wow, okay. This is the main reason the radicals find it easy to take over governments based on Sharia. All they have to do is, if you don't like what the laws of their country is, or you don't like killing your enemies, when Allah himself commanded this, you are an apostate. That's what you're considered. And of course the person goes on, no, yes, we need to kill the Americans, and so on. So much for moderate Islamic nations. As far as freedom of speech goes, it would never occur to them someone could put out anything without the state approving it. It's just not done. I still say they're mindless sheep in my book. Alright, let's go on to the next one. In reply to Dragon Rider, someone named Abdil replies to his post, yeah, free speech is important unless you use it to deny the Holocaust, then it's illegal, and the Muslim Brotherhood didn't use the word demand. That was inserted by the Times of Israel when they were spun headlines. If free speech is good, then it is good for everyone, not just Zionists. Oh my goodness. And someone goes on to reply to that, Captain Tiny Knots. That's weird. Some of these names these people come up with forums and blogs are ridiculous. They're even funnier than what they actually post. But he did post something very interesting. Since you don't seem to understand the American concept of free speech, let me explain. Freedom of speech isn't just to protect you to agree with or like, to protect speech you hate to find offensive. If something you, oh Lord, he doesn't even know how to type, oh my God. Okay, if something you agree with doesn't need to be protected speech, right? If Islam or Zionists, oh Lord, I'm not even going to go on. This guy cannot even type. I should not have picked him. Alright, and Captain Tiny Nuts again replies to him, have you ever been to Germany? Anyway, this story is not about free speech, which everyone agrees with. It's about war propaganda. Wow. Okay, I don't know about that, because no one is trying to start a war. We're just trying to prove the fact that here in America we have the Constitution and Bill of Rights, and that we have them for a reason. I, for one, love the Constitution and love the Bill of Rights. I would never ever move to a country that denied me free speech, or denied me the ability to have freedom from religion, or the ability to own a weapon to protect myself. Which I do own a couple of weapons that I do protect myself, and I know how to use them. Maybe you missed the part where I said in America we have free speech. I don't care what other countries allow. In America we have free speech. We will not amend our Constitution because the Muslim Brotherhood wants us to. War propaganda, good Lord. And that was posted by Abdel to Captain Kanicki. Captain Tiny Knots. I say Kanicki. He says his name is Tiny Knots. Okay. Let's see. Sunny One replied to that post and said, I find it ironic that the Muslim Brotherhood can make such grand demands. Don't be surprised if one day the UN is used to push the agenda to criminalize anyone that speaks badly of Islam. And that is so true. The UN is starting to show signs of being a dictatorship, trying to push Islam rights on to countries that don't believe in them. And I, for one, am a patriotic American. If you don't like the way this country's run, why the hell are you trying to live here? That's what I said. Why are you trying to live here? There's a reason why people enjoy having freedom of speech. Because we can. Because we can. I also remember keenly that the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt said about Jerusalem. Jerusalem has become Egypt's capital under Muslim rule. Brandish your weapons or say your prayers. Which part of Islam shall the rest of the world believe? The one proclaiming peace, or the one brandishing weapons and become martyrs? I mean, give me a break. And I'm not saying every Muslim is bad, because I actually know a few Muslims that live here in Las Vegas. They are law-abiding citizens. They respect this country's law, and they don't try to shove their religion down our throats, or down my throat at least. I mean, they know I'm not a religious person, but I'm not an atheist either. I'm not an atheist, but I'm not a religious person. I don't go around toting the Bible and shoving it in people's faces. I respect other people and their religions. Whatever they want to believe, that's fine. I don't want it shoved in my face, and I'm not going to shove anything in their face. If anything, if they try to shove their religion in my face, I'll just slam the door on them and tell them to get lost. You know? I have freedom from religion. That is in the Constitution, and it's in the Bill of Rights. I have freedom to believe in what I want to believe in. And I'm sorry, not to get off subject, but I don't believe God is so omnipotent as everyone claims he is. All the Christians with their free will, well, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. You know, it wasn't 3,000 people that died on 9/11 in 01 that they freely chose to sacrifice themselves at the expense of the government or the Islamic nation. I mean, a lot of people say it was done by our government. A lot of people say it was done by radical Islamics. You know, I really don't care who did it. It's done and over with. Let it rest. You know, remember it every year when it comes. That's fine, but don't constantly say, "Oh, the government did it. You got to believe the government did it." Stop shoving it in my face. Stop shoving it in other people's face. Let people believe what they want to believe, no matter what you may think. People believe what they want to believe when they see facts. Or even if they see facts and they don't want to believe it, well, guess what? They can't get it through their heads that the fact is a fact. It doesn't matter who done it or why it happened. It happened. 3,000 people did not sit there and say, "Okay, God, free will, I want you to take my life. Go ahead, take my life today." It didn't happen, so I'm sorry. Now, getting back on this Muslim Brotherhood crap, I'm sorry, those are some retarded people, okay? And yes, I speak my mind, and I say what's on my mind, and I tell it like it is. I don't hold back. Some of these posts in here I'm going to read. This guy, he kind of posted something, but he held back, and it's like, okay, here it is. Posted by Severed Soul. Thanks, I was going to say something like that, but I'm kind of holding back. Why? Why are you holding back? You're an American citizen. Speak your damn mind. Stop with all this politically correct crap. You know, I mean, America has become a weak nation because of the government, because of Obama, because of the big banks. You know, whatever the reason is, it's a combination of everything. You know, it's not just one group or one person. It's a combination of everything. Somebody has to follow the leader, no matter if it's the leader of the country or not. He's still friggin' got his own boss. I'm telling you. He's not the high and mighty boss that controls every single thing. He's following an agenda that has been set forth by other people. So he's following the leader just like everyone else is following the leader. You want to know who the leader is? Look deeper. Find the evidence. You'll find who the true leader is. Alright, I think they just need to grow up and learn to accept a little criticism. Well, that's true. What he posted there is very true. That's a very polite way of putting it. That's what he says. Not my real feelings, but kind of a state sentiment. Well, I'm sorry. You should have, severed soul, you should have said what was truly on your mind, because I'm going to say it right now. If those Islamics, those radical Islamics have trouble just laughing off some bullshit movie, because that's all it was. It was a piece of crap movie that basically poorest acting I've ever seen, and just laughable script and stupid, the stupidest cutting of the scenes as you've ever seen. You know, I mean, if you can't laugh something like that off, something's wrong with you. And I'm sorry, you radical Islamics, something is definitely wrong with you. If you can't take a little friggin' joke of a movie, because that's all it was a joke of a movie, you should have turned around and laughed and went on about your day instead of getting all high and mighty. Oh, you can't blaspheme on Islam. You can't, you know, tell the truth about Muhammad. Well, I'm sorry. The truth has come out. You know, and the more and more you radical Islamics squeeze countries and make demands, the more people are going to fall through your grips and go against you. And the shit that y'all are pulling now, you're never, ever going to find yourselves equals in America to have your Sharia law crap. That's never, ever going to be a part of this country's Constitution. The Constitution and Bill of Rights will always be here. They will always protect Americans. And if you try and come into this country forcefully, like the shit you're doing in other countries, you're going to have yourself a civil war. And you're going to find yourself against every true-blooded, patriotic American in this country against your asses. And you're going to find yourself on the losing end. Alright, I'm going to close it out here, and that'd be it. I mean, I have more to read, but I don't want to take up too much time on this, because I don't know how long this is going to, video is going to be up. If somebody might take it down, because I might say the wrong thing. But I'm sorry, YouTube, and I'm sorry, America, and I'm sorry, radical Islamists. I speak my mind, I say what's on my mind, and I don't hold back. And I don't find your demands on this country and on the Western world very tasteful. Because if one of you came to my house and made demands on me to kneel to the Quran, I would say, get the fuck out my house and go on about your merry little friggin' way. And I tell you one thing, if I could come find a friggin' cheap Brotherhood of Muslim flag and the Quran, I'd friggin' burn it and not care what you thought about it. And I don't care. This is America. I have rights, freedom of speech, freedom from religion, and I stand by the Constitution and Bill of Rights. I have weapons to protect myself. I know my rights, and I live by them. This is a patriotic American here, honey. And I may be a woman, and you may think less of me because I'm a woman, and I'm an infidel, quote unquote. But guess what? This infidel will never friggin' kneel to Allah and pray with Muhammad, who turned out to be a pedophile and a butcher because he couldn't take his feelings getting hurt. Oh my God, that's the problem with you radical Islamists. You can't take your feelings, you can't take criticism, you can't take other people's opinions on you. You gotta shove your religion and shove your views and way of lives in everyone else's face and demand that's how you live, that's how you're supposed to live. That'll never happen here in the USA, honey. Not with so many patriotic Americans running around this country. This is Vegas Lady signing off. Have a good one, YouTube.